The NBA has informed teams that in cities like New York and San Francisco that have vaccine requirements in public spaces, NBA teams will have to comply to those vaccination requirements. At least the home teams will have to comply in order to be at those facilities. Joining me now from Locked On Knicks, Alex Wolfe. And Alex, this has broad-reaching implications here, but the top line theory here seems to be the NBA trying to encourage vaccinations without specifically mandating them.
Yeah, and they kind of have already been encouraging them for sure, right? I mean, even at the end of last season, there was the lifting of restrictions for players and coaches and staff that got vaccinated. They made life a lot easier for vaccinated people at the end of last season once that started becoming readily available. So I'd say it's pretty lockstep. You know, they haven't quite gone to the lengths that the NFL has yet, but we do also still have almost 2 months until the season starts. So, or I guess about a month and a half at this point, about a month till training camps open. So, you know, I maybe they'll even get to that point at a certain point. But as of right now, I mean, yeah, I think it was kind of a necessity in cities like New York and San Francisco where these regulations are in place, and you know there can't be exceptions for people even if they're NBA players. So if the rules in New York City are if you're indoors you have to be vaccinated, you know, for events, then so be it. That's got to be the rules then, I guess, for NBA players as well, because there are still courtside seats. There are still, you know, opportunities for them to be close to fans. And so, you know, the same rules should apply to them that apply to anybody that comes into the building. So I understand where they're coming from for sure.
I have one little thought on this, Alex. Let me throw this at you. Why didn't the NBA go all the way with this and say, look, because they carved out medical and religious, which is something they probably have to do for legal reasons. But why not go all the way and say anyone who goes and wants to play in New York, Brooklyn, San Francisco, you know, at Golden State, you have to comply. They did not make visiting teams have to comply because they could have said, this is not an NBA mandate. We are trying to follow the local jurisdictions. And then you are, in essence, forcing every player who wants to play the Nets, the Knicks, and the Warriors to get vaccinated.
And that's three matchups that most teams probably don't want to miss this year. I could not tell you. I'm not in Adam Silver's brain. I don't know why exactly he didn't pass that. And that's kind of why I said, like, I think there is a chance that could be coming. I'm not willing to rule out just yet that the NBA isn't going to just say, you know, maybe they'll have that same, you know, gear turn in their head and say, wait a minute, you know, if we're requiring this of these guys, like, why, you know, how are we going to put a hard line on home teams complying to these rules, but then not have the road teams have to comply with it? Because if it's all about public safety, which COVID, you know, regulations are, you know, everything that goes hand in hand with COVID regulations is public safety. So if you bring in unvaccinated individuals on other teams, I mean, I guess you could still keep doing the testing protocol and everything else, but if you want to create the safest environment possible for fans, for media, for the players themselves, I don't know why you wouldn't just mandate it at this point. I'm sure that there's some stuff going on behind the scenes and some gears turning that we know nothing of because we're not part of the NBA league office. But I wouldn't rule it out as being something that comes down a few weeks before the season. Maybe something in such a... I mean, I don't know for sure. Like, this is literally just me speculating, but maybe they want to wait until they're in such a short time frame that there's no real time for pushback. And it says... you know, they say, hey, these are the rules, deal with it or don't. And, you know, then if players choose not to, then they choose not to. But there's not going to be enough time to, like, you know, go against it and say, no, I don't want to do that, you know. And I don't know. I can't see a world where anyone should want to push back against this because ultimately it does all just come down to public safety. And I think everybody should be in favor of that. NBA players, coaches, staff, and everybody combined from top to bottom.